Financial stories of lack and scarcity, like living on the breadline. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 1567 of What You Up To Now, documenting primarily the business journey as I've transitioned from the brick and mortar corporate world of business to the online world of business. Over 48, 49 years in different businesses and industries offline, before I finally came online, because I was curious about it after my divorce. What am I going to do? What do I want to do? I'm old. I could retire, but I don't want to stop doing anything productive yet. So I'm going to stay and I'm going to learn about the online world. So I hopped online and I didn't start documenting my journey right away, but after about a year, I think online, I was like, okay, I need to find a way to start keeping track of what I'm doing, what's working, what's not. Why not just hop on and do a daily little journal of some of my experiences, some of my thoughts, some of my, the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever comes up. So this year, I'm actually streamlining a lot of what I've done. COVID helped me do that, to put my energy into a more focused direction, which was something I was definitely doing wrong, not focusing in and picking something that I wanted to work on and people I wanted to work with. So COVID helped with that, and we created the Get Up and Go Challenge. And for about every other month, for 2020 and 2021, we did a 30-plus day, a 30-day, 31 with a bonus day challenge to learn something called the SOAP framework, which helps us to deal with challenges and changes that happen in our life. A lot of times, the ones that we have no control over, but we learn the process, we do it for all the different areas and aspects of our life, then we install it through repetition in our subconscious. So whenever anything comes up, and I don't know about you, but in my life, changes and challenge come up pretty much every single day. And so instead of just haphazardly dealing with them, we have a process now installed in our subconscious that guarantees we have the best result for us at the time possible, because we've got a process that's running intentionally on our subconscious, and if we want to, we can pull it up to our conscious and use it to deal with the bigger changes and challenges that come our way. Maybe you have an opportunity to get married, or maybe you have a new job. Our neighbors are moving to New Jersey. He got his dream job, and so they're moving to New Jersey in like 3 weeks. He's already gone. He started beginning of the month, and she's coming in a couple of weeks after they sell the house and do all the things that they have to do to tie up all their loose ends here so that they can move across the country. We're in the Midwest and they're going to New Jersey. So how exciting is that? But in order to decide if you're going to take that challenge, do that thing, do something outside your comfort zone, because I'm sure this is clearly outside his original comfort zone, how do you make that choice? Well, you have a decision-making framework that guarantees you get the best results for you. That's just an example of it. So today I share 2 pieces of content. This year I'm sharing 2 pieces of content every day. One is an idiom for supersize your business. What does it mean? Where does it come from? And how can you apply it to growing and building your business right now? I love to look at what things mean, because they mean different things to each and every one of us. Our idiom today, living on the breadline, I personally have never heard it in the way that it's meant by the majority of the world. I always thought breadline, hey, go down to the breadline, was a manufacturing, physical, actual production of making bread. I worked for big industrial bakeries. I used to audit and be in that industry, and literally have overseen the manufacture and quality and sanitation of probably 1 billion or more loaves of bread, right? And then in our Italian food manufacturing business for like 35 years, we had a literal physical bread line where we manufactured handmade Italian bread. We would hand make bread, and then we would cut it and garlic butter it and wrap it up and freeze it, because it had no preservatives, and it's absolutely delicious. I'll still make it every once in a while. But literally I meant, that's what breadline meant to me. It was the physical production and manufacture of bread, which is fascinating, by the way. I am totally fascinated by all things manufacturing. I love manufacturing, always have. Always love to see how things work, how they're put together, how they're made, etc. So living on the breadline was our financial related idiom for the month of May. For May, we're focusing on money, finances, financial well-being. For the annual challenge, our BU 365-day challenge, where we're doing one thing every day that improves us, and we're focusing on financial. We're using the life framework that I use and have used for decades to do our annual challenge. So in January, we talked about physical well-being. In February, we talked about emotional well-being. In March, we talked about mental well-being. In April, we talked about spiritual well-being. And this month, we're talking about financial well-being. And then next month, we'll talk about relationships and contribution and communication and confidence, because those are the key areas that I set my goals and objectives in. Thank you, Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn and probably Napoleon Hill and all the other personal development people. But I've used that for decades. So why not share what works for me with other people, right? So many people are so like, oh, I can't tell anybody how I do things or how I think or what really works for me, because then they're going to get a leg up on me. It's a big competition. Life isn't a big competition. We each get to run our own race, right? And we decide and create what it is that we want in our life. We're not competing against anyone else because it's just us. And when we believe that we're competing against other people, then we think we have to get one up on them. We have to do things that might not feel right to us to win, right? And we can win by defining success the way we define success and then creating that in our life. By defining winning and celebrating the wins that we have along the way to achieving our goals and objectives. And they're different for all of us, right? Success means something different and looks different for all of us. Reality means something different for all of us. Our reality is only our reality, our perspective, our way of looking at the world. What's real and what we notice is, you know, perceptually different for each and every one of us. And I think once we start to realize that, and that other people really aren't as important in the creation of what we want as we are, in our mindset and the way we think and believe and do things and take action or don't, or stretch our comfort zone. Once we realize we actually have all that power and control, we don't make excuses. We don't blame other people. We don't do things that prevent us from creating what it is that we want. And I think that the annual challenge to do one thing every day to improve us is a perfect way to do that. Because guess what? After even 30 days or 60 days of doing one little thing every day, you get hooked on it. It becomes a positive, good habit or ritual or routine, whatever you call it. And all of a sudden, you catch yourself looking for other ways, other little things that you can do, ways you can make your life easier and continuously improve to move toward the things that you want. And it doesn't last just you're doing the challenge. It lasts forever because it becomes something that is part of you, part of your identity. And once we transform it and change, we don't ever go back to being the same as we were before. We always move forward in our lives. So if we so choose, right? I always want to qualify that, because we can stay stuck and never change in our life. We can be the same exact person that we were when we graduated from high school or grade school or whatever. If we so choose, we can stay where we want to. And if that's our comfort zone, we can create the life we want right there. But the vast majority of us have this overwhelming desire to always be moving forward, always be moving, always be growing, always be becoming better than we were before. And so that's what this challenge is about. So today, living on the breadline, today our topic was stories that we tell ourselves about scarcity and lack. And I've really not had much real world scarcity and lack in my lifetime. But there have been times that I tell myself stories just like everybody else that are examples of scarcity and lack. I remember when I was married, one of my ex-husband's belief was everything was too expensive and we can't afford that. Now, it was an absolute lie. We could afford what we wanted and everything wasn't too expensive, but that's what he had been raised with. That was his beliefs, and they spread into me and the whole family. Because growing up, it wasn't, we can't afford that. It's like, how are we going to make this happen in our life? That my family raised us that, yeah, we might not have the money for it right now, but let's get resourceful and figure out how we're going to make this happen. How can we save for this? How can we find a way to make income for this? How can we pay for this, etc.? It wasn't, it's too expensive or we can't afford that. Although I will admit, growing up, my dad had the possibility thinking, and my mom was more reserved and more along the lines of, it's too expensive, we can't afford that. So I got lots of doses of that. And most of us do. Historically, we have beliefs that come from our parents, and some of them serve us, some of them don't. But there have been times in my life, just like everybody else, that I tell myself stories of lack and scarcity. I still do. Every once in a while, I'll catch myself thinking and telling myself a story, and then I'm like, whoa, hold the phone. Is that really true, or is that just something I am making up to keep myself stuck so I don't push the envelope of my comfort zone and do something else in order to create the thing that I want? Am I just a little afraid or uncertain of the outcome? We're always uncertain of the outcome, right? There's only a couple things we can count on in our life. One is we're going to die someday. We're all going to die. I know. A lot of people are afraid of dying. For some creepy, freaky reason, I never have been. And then when I was 50, I had a sudden cardiac arrest, and I did die, but it didn't stick. So I'm back here talking today. But I've never really had that fear of dying. And the truth is, if something is inevitable, it's going to happen to every living thing on the planet. Why would we waste our time and energy feeling fearful about the uncertainty of that? Yeah, we're uncertain about when it's going to happen, but we know it's going to happen, and it's going to happen to everybody. But we're not going to let that stop us from creating the life, creating the things that we want in our life. And there's all kinds of things like that. I mean, remember, we're not born with hardly any fears or scarcity or lack or uncertainty. We're born with fear of loud noises, fear of falling or being dropped, and that's about it, right? Everything else we learn along the way from the people that are around us, or from our environment, or from our personal experiences. And then we get to decide, as we get older and have outgrown that event that happened to us when we were 3, we can decide as an adult whether we're going to continue to live with that event impacting us in a negative way, or we're going to say, okay, well, that happened when I was 3. It was about a 2-hour event. I think I can let it go now. So things we're thinking about. Lots of fun things this week. A new challenge, our annual challenge, of course, that every day, Supersize Your Business every day. New coaching and consulting clients, working with some real estate folks, which is really fun right now because it is such a crazy, volatile market, and it's going to continue to be. It's going to get, I predict it's going to get super duper crazy in the next couple of years, and people are going to be like, oh my God, what happened? But it's true of everything and anything that happens. There are opportunities in the world all the time, whether we believe it or not, whether we're willing to see that or not. There always are. Even during the COVID pandemic, there are millions of people that benefited substantially because of the COVID pandemic. There's whole industries that were created. I mean, did you ever wear a face mask unless you were a snowboarder or a skier and lived in the winterland, or were a burglar or something, or some kind of a criminal prior to the COVID pandemic? I did once, but you know what? It was because of COVID. Before COVID, we knew it was COVID. December of 2019, I was sicker than a dog and wore a mask when I went to the doctor to get checked out, which at the time they said, oh, well, we can't check you for the flu because you've had it too long. And I'm like, okay, so they never made any diagnosis. Finally did get some of those cough pearls because I kept coughing so hard, almost wet myself every time I coughed. So not a great position to be in, right? So if I can help you in any way, ask. Just hit me up. Pajama Grandma is my Voxer handle. So pajamagrandma@gmail.com. You can Voxer me if we're not Voxer friends. Otherwise, just send me a direct message. And if you're stuck on anything, let's get you unstuck. I don't want anybody to feel like they don't know what to do or they're stuck right now. Because I remember feeling that way as I was building and involved in different businesses in corporate America. Most corporations I worked in, I was like the only woman or one of 2 women or 3. And it's a tough spot to be in sometimes. So it's nice to have a resource that no connections, no strings attached. Just ask and let's see what we can do to make sure, 5 minutes or less, that you are confident in doing the next thing that you need to do. Not all the things you need to do to create what you want, but at least the next thing, right? And then I'll probably invite you to the free challenge to do one thing every day to improve you and improve your life. And it's available on our Get Up and Go Challenge private Facebook group in Guide 15. And there are 14 other guides in there of previous challenges we've done as the 30-day ones, as well as different topics that we've talked about. So you could go in there and you could search any topic with respect to growing your business or your life, or the 9 areas and aspects of our life. Well, I didn't start the 9 areas. I didn't add confidence and communication until April of 2021. I just added those. So If I can help you in any way, ask. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow. Bye. Have an awesome day.